All right, happy new moon in Scorpio. Today we're going to talk about what this new moon is all about. My name is Latoya from Emerald Astrology, and I'm super excited to dive in with you all. So, my mission today is to help you understand this new moon so that it's easier to move into a new era of your life, because we are now finally out of eclipse season. In the Taurus Scorpio axis. So this area of our life is going to feel less chaotic, and now is a wonderful time for integration, rearranging, and just not risking any kind of sudden upheavals or changes that are, that could be triggering or require a lot of energy to work with. So now we're moving forward from that, and we're blessed with this wonderful new moon that is still a bit much, but it's not as chaotic because the nodes have moved. So I'm grateful for that. Today we're gonna go ahead and recap on the past lunar eclipse that we had, or the lunation that we had. And then we'll go into the new moon details, and then I'll close this talk with an oracle reading for us all. And then if you're a patron, you will get a individual reading so that you can understand how this new moon is showing up for you. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath so that we are ready to integrate with the message here. And if you want to grab a notebook, journal, this is a good time to do it. Drink some water. I do that myself. All right. So before we really dive into the new moon, the recap of the last lunation, I want to answer a few questions that I get often. So one, why do we focus on the rising sign? Whenever, doing the Patreon reading or the individual readings, so the rising sign detects the rest of your chart. So it really helps us understand what house or area of our life that the moon is showing up or highlighting, revealing. And so it's really important to start with the rising sign and not necessarily like your sun sign or your moon sign. I like to do these talks or circles before the actual new moon or lunation, because this is more of like giving you a heads up of the energy that's coming your way. If not, if you're sensitive, you might already have been feeling it. But just overall, it's just giving you a heads up so that you are aware and you're understanding your own behaviors or habits and how you respond or react to the energies around you. And so it's kind of giving you like a little prep, getting you a little ready for this energy so that you don't, make a mess out of yourself more than necessary. And then what to do for the new moon. So the new moon is great for setting your intention. Especially now that we're out of eclipse season, we're not having to deal with chaotic energy. This is a great time to set an intention, especially if it's specific to the sign or the ruler of this moon. So again, you want to look at what house this new moon is pinging, so that your intention is in alignment with what is prime and ready for you. So again, it's important to know your rising sign, because then you get to see what house Scorpio rules. So for example, if we were looking at this person, if they're a rising Libra, this is actually the new moon in the place that I'm living. But if this was an actual person, we would say that this is a Libra rising person, and therefore the new moon will show up in their second house of money and finances, and therefore setting your attention around that area would be more auspicious than to set an attention on relationship. Hopefully that is clear. It's better to work with nature than work against it, right? So now that we are out of eclipse season, especially in the Taurus Scorpio era of our life, maybe take a pause and think about, how does it feel now that we're out of this chaotic energy? How does it feel now that we are settling into a new rhythm in this area of our life, Scorpio area of our life, that has been shaken up for the past year and a half. Be maybe get some gratitude to yourself and um, going through that, especially if you have any personal planets in Scorpio like myself. This was really it brought a lot of upheavals and a lot of questioning. Why do certain things and where does that come from, and what was the influence, who was the influence, and created a lot of change, wanting it or not. So have some gratitude for what you've been through, and now things are going to able to start being built upon a new foundation. So to recap, we recently had the lunar eclipse in Taurus. So that eclipses represents major endings, major beginnings, and with the Taurus area, this is a great time to accept what was coming to an end and what you're holding space for, that the thing that is new. I just acknowledging that, accepting that, and it was also a great moon for just questioning what it is that you're actually holding here now, and what do you actually value? What is it actually that is delicious to you in this area of your life? And like just having that appreciation, that you have this, or that realization that you are worthy of keeping this, of possessing this, of holding this. Um, that you are worthy of finding pleasure in this area of your life. So questioning what it is that you're holding here, and just kind of like giving like a thank you to the universe, but you have it now. So that was a good moon for that. And then also seeing that you are a vessel, and that you can fill yourself up with goodness that you want to contain, that you don't have to put up for things that doesn't value your time or energy, and or where it is that you're wanting to go and build upon. So yeah, just remembering that about yourself. And so the lunar eclipse happened on Saturday, October 28th, and so we are moved past that, and that is the end of the Taurus Scorpio eclipse series. So this new moon that happens in Scorpio happens on Monday, November 13th at 3:27 a.m. Central my time. So if you're not, if you're the specific time, then you want to change your, make sure the time change thing there, because it's not going to be exactly this time, obviously. But yeah, so this new moon happens at 20 degrees and 43 minutes in Scorpio. So if you have any personal planets there, know that this new moon is going to be significant for you. And again, for all of us, it's a great time to um, embrace the unknown, accept a new beginning, and set an intention on what you would like to change here. If you're like unaware of like exactly what to set your intention on here, just keep an eye out, or be more curious of what you're feeling a day before the new moon, because that is when the dark moon is happening. And usually around that time we are feeling really we're feeling more dark in the dark, or wrestling with darker emotions, or so that could be feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, anger, frustration, um, especially if it's things that we've been suppressing. Usually the things that we have been ignoring, so suppressing, starts bubbling up. And so if you're noticing any kind of uncomfortable feelings around there, that is more likely a great intention, to pay attention to that and set an intention on changing that part of your life, so that you're feeling empowered and not overpowered by the past and what has happened to you. And that is even more so now that the new moon is happening in Scorpio, which wrestles with a lot of resentments and poisonous emotions and feelings, of um, power struggles, and all of these things is like a very Scorpio topic, which leans into the things that Scorpio is about. So we might be dealing with taboo, we might be dealing with secrets, or our passions, or just in general very intense emotions, a deeper insight on our own psychology, dealing with extremes. This can be people coming at us, or we going at them because of past resentments. which inevitably creates crisis, and an opportunity for transformation. So all of these themes are circling around the new moon in Scorpio. And again, if you are paying attention to these energies or just sensitive, you might be noticing these themes a week before the actual new moon happens. So we all have Scorpio in our chart. So not to think, if I don't have any, if my sun's not in Scorpio, then this new moon is not going to affect me. It's like, no, we all have Scorpio in our chart. You might have your moon there, you might have your ascendant there. You might have an angle, that's for Scorpio. And so this is going to be a very active moon for you. Um, and yeah, and so just being aware of how you express this moon, and or other people might be expressing it around you, because the moon in astrology also represents the people that you deal with every day. These things might come up. So that's just something to be aware of. And especially if you have any fixed signs at 20 degrees, you will feel this moon or this themes here. So this can be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. And so yeah, like our creative urge, sexual urge, ability to devote ourselves to a cause, dealing with secrecy, moodiness in general, all of these things can be activated with these new moon in Scorpio. So get a bigger picture view here. We're looking at the new moon chart in the center here. Again, the new moon in 20 degrees happens in Scorpio, so we'll see that here. And then I'm going to move my window here a little bit because I can't see it. I need my notes. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, so we have the sun conjunct the moon, so that of course creates the new moon effect. And so that represents, a new emotional awareness around the Scorpio era of our life. And so something new is trying to develop here. This is the beginning of a development going on here. With the moon in conjunction with Mars, who is the ruler of this moon. So, this is like direct assistance here. Its energy is really potent and active here. This can be, fiery emotions. We might feel more energetic, or have emotions that move us into action. So we will really easily feel this with the new moon or leading up to the new moon. The thing that's like really problematic with this moon, I see, is that the moon is in opposition to Uranus, and so therefore Mars is in opposition to Uranus, and so this can be combustive emotions. This can be unconventional encounters with other people that gets us going, gets us moving. Maybe we're wrestling with past resentments, and now it comes out in strange times, or we might feel attacked, or we have to attack because of past resentments are building up. And yeah, this is kind of like the outlet here. Or there's just like in general a deep need to rebel from the other for safety. Because again, Scorpio energy is really concerned about security as well. And it doesn't really like to be all out there. And if Uranus, the planet that likes to break through things and create sudden changes, that can trigger a Scorpio for sure, because it's like they're purposely hiding things or securing things or protecting something. And so with that energy coming in, we might feel attacked for whatever reason. And this is kind of I think, and especially with the support of the moon sextile Pluto, this is like our opportunity for us to do a deep dive within our own psychology, and just kind of getting really curious on why do we feel triggered by these certain things or people that come out at us. Like, what is it that is actually, what need is getting met by this, needing to react a certain way. So yeah, just getting really curious about our psychology here. It really would help us understand how we use our power, how we understand power, and can really give us an opportunity to not succumb to other people's fuckery or our own bullshit. So yeah, it's really, this is kind of like calling it out, and we might feel called out, or we might end up calling out other people, and that could be uncomfortable but necessary for healing and moving forward and creating this new era of our life, especially in the Scorpio. So other transits that we are dealing with around this new moon in Scorpio, we had Saturn stationing direct on November 4th. And so this is wonderful. Saturn was in Pisces, so he's over here. And so this could like really feel like this is our time to incorporate what we have learned about ourselves during the Saturn retrograde. So this is like, what is it, early June that we had, Saturn stationing retrograde. So this is like all up to November, we've been dealing with this retrograde. And so this is like our opportunity to now integrate with what we learned, have a sense of new structure in our life, and bringing forth a new usefulness to this area of our life. So this is wonderful. I think because I have an angular Saturn, I feel really sensitive to the shifts of whenever Saturn stations direct or retrograde. And so when he retrograde, life just felt really chaotic, and like I was in the soup, and I really didn't have any control. And so that is like a not, you know, a common thing to feel when Saturn goes retrograde, like you lost control of things. But then when he moves direct, it's kind of like, okay, now I have a new footing. I understand the area that I'm in, and this is where I actually have power, so or control. And so that's whenever we are now able to exercise our new sense of authority. Now that Saturn is direct until he goes retrograde again next year. So we survived. That's great. And then I've already mentioned the Mars opposite Uranus energy. So again, that's explosive behavior. So we might encounter that through other people, or we might end up doing that ourselves, depending on, if you're the Scorpio person or the Taurus person, because Uranus is in Taurus. Yeah, so we might be, just having this deep need to state our sense of agency, or, we have a certain goal that we're trying to achieve, and the other person just feels like they're working against that or opposed to that. And that can be that tension. And so just being aware that we all have certain goals in our life, and, maybe not necessarily trying to work against each other, but like just our goals are different. And so that just naturally clashes, and so that can end up being combustive. And so if you're more aware of that, you can hold more space for yourself, hold more space for the other person, so that it's not become a bigger problem, or the resentment doesn't get bigger than it needs to be. And then the sun will oppose Uranus on the same day of course, because the new moon going on. So that's, again, a time for us to try new things because of the encounters that we experience around this new moon. Like, okay, this obviously is not working. We need to try something new. And just to find the balance between that, I have a certain goal and a thing I'm trying to protect or achieve, and it might be doing it in secrecy because it's Scorpio sun. But, there's that chaotic element, that rebellious element that Uranus has to bring. And so that if we're trying something new, integrating with another person, or including what the other person desires, we might be able to navigate this transit with ease there. So Scorpio season, overall, so this is the sun transiting Scorpio. So this is between October 23rd to November 21st. It's a great time to ask us what brings us pleasure, what hurt us the most in the past, and how has that impacted our life? And just being mindful of when we use our power to control other people, because again, Scorpio has that need to be in control because maybe life has felt out of control for some time, or just wanting to protect a certain thing or element of your life. Um, there's that tendency. I don't know, this made me think of the little scorpion that I've encountered a few weeks ago. And what was he doing? He was like I think it was like on our solar panels, and I was literally trying to protect my body. I didn't want to get stung by this scorpion, and so I got him off, and I was trying to look for him. Like I was like, where did he go? Because I think it's fascinating. I never really grew up around scorpions, but I was looking for it and I couldn't find it, and so I just like threw a stick to see if I would get it to move, like if I can see where it landed, and I threw the stick on top of the scorpion. And that sucked because I was like, oh my God, I freaked this thing out. It's trying to hide and protect itself. I'm trying to protect myself. And I threw the stick on top of it. And it was like, this little tail was like stinging. I didn't know what it was stinging, but it was like trying to get the thing that landed on him. And I was just like, oh my God, this baby. And so I was like, yeah, I know how that feels when you're like, you just get, moved all of a sudden. You're like, I was trying to hide or I was trying to be in a place, and all of a sudden something landed on me or something's trying to attack me, and you're just going wild. That's just kind of like a response. I don't know. And this made me think of that. Scorpio season could probably bring up those things. And so, yeah, what hurt you in the past and what makes you act out, in that kind of way. And just getting more curious about your own psychology is appropriate for Scorpio season. Another thing too is that the Scorpio energy has this tendency to, because it's ruled by Mars, and so Mars is, a very aggressive planet and wants to protect and wants to fight. It wants to use its energy in a way that progresses whatever it is that it wants to do, get it to its goal. But Scorpio is an feminine sign, so it's more internalized, it's more quiet, it's more secretive in how it goes about doing that, as opposed to Aries, it's just out there and everyone knows, what they are wanting. Scorpio is more secretive about what it wants and how it goes about doing that. And so sometimes how that can be conveyed when anger goes in, part of the discussion is that it comes out as resentment. And so, how that can show up, we might do, try to help other people, and that leads to self-sacrifice, and we're not feeling seen or acknowledged for what we've done, and that can lead to resentment, and the other person feels it, and so they feel blackmailed, and not really wanting to acknowledge what you do. And so there's that pressure, that built on pressure, that leads to resistance from the other from seeing you. And so, yeah, again, like, well, if we have any of that kind of like interaction with someone, it could combust. It could be a blowout moment with this new moon in Scorpio. So if this happens, just have compassion for yourself that you've been holding on to this resentment for so long and you just didn't know any better. But of course, when I'm talking about this moon, I'm kind of giving you a heads up. Instead of like leaning into that and just kind of like, oh, I'll continue to sacrifice or continue to do this action in secret, and maybe that person will acknowledge me, and then they don't, and you get resentful. Instead of doing that cycle, maybe we could view our efforts on the behalf of others as a gift, and that would naturally drop the resistance, that pressure to for the other one to see you, and therefore they are more resistant. What's the sound? Sorry, they are more resistant to you. It's a plane. Uh, Instead of doing that, maybe the secret to navigate those kind of difficult situation is to first fill your own cup. First serve yourself, take care of yourself before giving to others from that empty cup and then getting resentful about it. So, maybe if we can find a moment where we're like, oh, I'll just do this thing because I know that they need it, but I'm kind of pissed off that I have to do this again. Pause, kind of get curious of like, why do you feel like you need to do that? And then, ask what it is that you actually need if you're feeling that pressure from yourself. Because if you don't do that, that leaves pressure onto other people, which then naturally they resist, and then you don't get your needs met. And then another thing, like if you're dealing with a complainer or you're dealing with someone that just nags at you, they personally don't feel seen for whatever that they are doing. So if you can actually acknowledge them, for what the little things that they're doing. So like, for example, maybe they made sure you had another plan. Sound out here. So if they have like they're nagging and you notice they do little things for you, just acknowledging like, hey, thank you for being attentive to my needs or doing this thing for me. I appreciate you. That will help like release that tension or that nagging nature, if that makes sense. So yeah, so this new moon is really good for embracing the unknown. So again, getting curious about any resentments, frustration, angers, feelings of hopelessness, helplessness on this current area of your life that Scorpio rules. This new moon is great for accepting a new beginning here, and your past does not have to determine where you're going here, because you're moving in a new direction, especially after the eclipses are done, what they needed to do here, and we're setting a new intention to use our power in empowering ways. So, yeah, this new moon is a wonderful moon, even though it can be a bit combative and bringing unexpected situations, but we're still can work with it. So I'm going to pull a card to focus in on a chakra that we could work with as we are getting closer to the new moon and opening ourselves up to a new perspective of ourselves and those around us. So, and again, sorry about all the planes. If you heard the sounds, they were very close for some reason. Just overwhelming. Um, Cards come out. Scorpio energy, very slow moving and intentional at times. It's also Scorpio energy could be really dynamic and fast, just depending on the situation. Okay, I feel pulled to pull this card. Okay, so the card I pulled is impartiality. So this has to talk about the crown chakra. So I guess like, yeah, realizing to get some perspective on your situation, and that you are more than capable of painting a new picture here. It's kind of what I'm seeing here because she's holding paint and she's just kind of like looking back and observing whatever it is that she's about to paint, and just feeling very, just not like really trying to force anything to happen, but just kind of like a little curious of like what it can be. So I feel like this is a kind of attitude that we need to have leading up to the new moon in Scorpio. It's just like, okay, we're able to now paint a new picture here, create a new situation here. I don't have to repeat the past. I don't have to do the same thing in the past. I don't have to act the same way or react the same way if people come at me. We can paint a new picture. We can do a new thing here. And just stepping back and observing what exactly it is that you desire, what is pleasurable to you, and then as the new moon becomes waxing, taking action on that accordingly. So that is your new moon and Scorpio talk here. And if you're not a patron, you can become one, and that's where you'll get an individualized reading on what this new moon is highlighting for you and how to work with it, and so that you're not like repeating old patterns or getting stuck in a loop that is not necessary anymore. So yeah, if you're wanting to become a patron, I have the links below that you can click and join and get your reading. And other than that, I hope you have a great new moon in Scorpio.